Hello, welcome to AEC Unplugged. I am your host, Danielle Gray. I currently serve as the Director of Content and Knowledge Resources at SMPS. So, welcome to another episode. We are on episode 4 in season 2, which is just actually really astounding to me, being that we started in May. So many great conversations. We've talked about so many different things. And if you want to catch up, you can go to our YouTube, the SMPS YouTube channel, and we will get that. You'll be able to pick up all the different episodes, watch them at your own leisure. It'll be great. So make sure to do that. There's an AEC Unplugged playlist. And, I always have to start with several different announcements because if I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't, right? So there's a couple of great things coming up. One, which is super big, which is the Pinnacle experience. If you are a mid to senior level marketer, business developer, you have got to be there in person. This time, the Pinnacle experience is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, which, by the way, that's where I'm from and am currently. So come on to my city to hang out at the Four Seasons. It will be November 6th through the 8th. This is where you get the best the best level of content. And actually, the keynote speaker is going to be from Formula One, which is a huge deal. So we're excited to share. And also, my guest will be speaking, but we'll talk about that later as well. We also have a CPSM only webinar series that's going to be launching. It actually our guest today. Our guest is just so popular. Our guest today will be starting that series, but this is for CPSMs only. So if you are a CPSM, this is for you. Get your CEUs, and it's at an amazing price. So if you are a member and you are a CPSM, this is a $49.99 dollar 3-part series. Great content. So I highly suggest you go ahead, look it up. Go ahead and register. You'll love all the content. I believe there's going to be social media discussions. There's going to be several that are there. But again, this is apparently a CPSM only club. So please enjoy that. Also, if you have heard, there is a new report that is out. It's AEC.BD. This is a SMPS Foundation publication along with Stanball Ness, and I highly suggest you check that out as well. A lot of analytics, and we'll be able to talk more about that because our guest is also about a part of that experience too. So look, I've said plenty. I've told you about the where you can watch the episodes. I've told you that you need to be at Pinnacle. I've told you need to go ahead if you're a CPSM to do the webinar series, okay? And then also download the AEC.BD report. And I think that may be it, at least for right now. But make sure to look up all the online learning that's coming up. We have one that's going to be about the interplay of business development and marketing. I just signed on someone else. We're going to talk about AEC websites and how we can use that to recruit talent. And we also have an AI webinar that's going to be in November. So October, November, December, and we actually have January already booked. So just go ahead and go on the online learning page on the SMPS website, and you will be able to see all the great learning that's coming for you. Okay, that's enough now. It's time to bring on the guest of, I would say the hour, but it's never an hour. It's about 30 minutes. But I am so excited to be able to introduce and have on Scott Butcher. He is a fellow, also a CPSM, and he is the managing director and strategic growth advisory at Stanball Nest. So thank you so much, Scott, for being here.
Danielle, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. You have a couple of letters behind your name, so the fellow, the CPSM. I was just very intrigued by it. But before we go into that, how did you get into AEC? What was that? Because you've been here for a while, you've been doing it. What was your story?
Very non-intentional. It's something that I fell into like a lot of us in this organization.
Right.
For me, I graduated college during a little bit of a recession, got a degree in marketing, and the only job offers was getting at the time, it was like selling copy machines, selling forklifts, things I was just not interested in doing. My father had two businesses, an architectural firm and an MEP engineering firm, and he made a job offer to me to be the first ever marketing coordinator for the MEP engineering firm. And who wants to go work for dad, right? I figured, well, I can do some marketing, even though he was going to pay me less than the other two job offers I had on the table, and stay there for a year or two and move on to something bigger and better, right? That's what I thought coming out of college. And year one working in the industry, my dad walks on up in my space. It wasn't an office then, a cubicle, one day, and throws a piece of mail down and said, "There's this marketing organization, SMPS. Might be something you want to look into. They keep sending
Wow.
me stuff in the mail."
Wow.
And so, less than a year into this industry, I discovered SMPS, and a year later, I was involved with a group that was trying to do a startup chapter in central Pennsylvania, and we succeeded. It ended up being an affiliate of the Philadelphia chapter for many years before going out on its own. And then, that 1 to 2 year plan, well, I was already so entrenched in the industry and I had so many connections and I found my people, my tribe, and I decided I wasn't in a hurry to go anywhere.
I think that is I know that was my experience when I joined SMPS for the first time. I actually was a part of a design build firm, didn't really know much about it. Apparently, my supervisor was a part of it, a little bit lighter. But once I went to my first SMPS event, I was like, "Oh, okay, these are my people. They get me, and I'm totally in." So, and have been a part ever since, and clearly even deeper now that I'm on the team. So, before we get into industry insights, because that's what today's episode is about, I want to talk about CPSM credentials. What made you decide to get your CPSM, and why do you think it's important to your career?
So this is really going to date me, Danielle. But before CPSM was launched, and I want to say that was right around 2000 ish,
Okay.
SMPS had an earlier certification. And they had MP, which was marketing professional, and they had SMP, which was senior marketing professional. And I was one of the earlier MPs. I got my certified marketing professional. So, my business card had my name, comma, MP, and people would look at that and be like, "Military police, what is this?" And so, it wasn't nearly the sophistication of the program that it came online in the early 2000s nor exists today. But being one of the original certified, that initial class of a couple hundred of us, I guess, we were our certification was transitioned over to CPSM. So really, it's been part of my life being certified as a marketing professional for boy, almost 30 years.
Wow.
So it's been really important to me, and I think to me, and I did biased opinion here. I did spend a few years on the certification committee as well. I think it's it, a stamp of subject matter expertise. And I think that's absolutely critical for our industry in particular because we don't market like other industries. We don't do business development like other industries. And it really is a demonstration of your credentials and knowledge in this specific industry since we are so focused on the build environment. And so I've been a CPSM advocate since its existence. I have found employees because of the CPSM network. I have actually, now that I'm on the consulting side and have been for 5.5 years, I get hired by CPSMs. So, what goes around comes around, and it benefited me and my development and my credibility. And now that network continues to benefit me to this day.
Oh, that's amazing. It's so interesting to hear. So I want to I want to talk a little bit, just kind of shift the conversation because we've talked about the fact that you're going to be teaching this CPSM only course. So I had to ask about the CPSM. But as we talk about like the actual content that you're discussing and the industry insights, what would you say to someone who feels overwhelmed with trying to keep up with trends. Like it's like there's this, there's already so many things we get all these emails, we get all these graphs. What would you tell someone or suggest to someone to stay up to date with these trends in the industry?
Well, first of all, I'd say congratulations for paying attention. I do think there's far too many people in our industry, and this isn't, any specific individual or type of position. This goes all the way to the executive office suites. There are far too many people that really aren't paying attention to the trends that are really going to be disruptive to their companies in the coming years. So, yeah, it is absolutely easy to become overwhelmed with trends. I actually, as part of strategic planning that I do with clients that I work with, we always do trends workshops. And I had one a couple hours ago.
Mm.
And we were going through a lot of the mega trends in the industry, and then we were looking at what are those specific trends that are going to impact you as the company in the coming 3 to 5 years and beyond. And we go through different buckets of trends like technology trends, demographic trends, things like that. And I bet you by the end of our time together, we probably had about 35, 37 trends that they thought had the potential to impact their firm in the coming years.
Wow.
So, how do you not get overwhelmed by it? Well, you need to understand that most of what's coming at you is just noise, and start to develop a skill set to interpret and pay attention to what matters most. I like cheat codes wherever we can find cheat codes. There are some aggregators in our industry that help not only identify trends so I don't have to go looking myself, but do a little bit of interpretation on the front end. If you don't follow or listeners don't follow the Dive series, the industry dives, they are phenomenal. Go to constructiondive.com. It covers design and construction. There's a marketing dive, there's a healthcare dive. So the vertical industries that your company might be operating in, they do a daily digest. You can get emailed to you, or you can just land on their website when you want and look at what they're reporting on, because they do talk about industry indicators, major news in the industry. And websites like that to me is a little bit of a time saver and helps me not to become overwhelmed, because part of my job and what I do for my clients is I'm paying attention to trends and bringing it to them. And so it's always on my radar that I need to do more research, and I don't think I ever do enough.
It feels like it can be endless, but I think that at least you gave a really great resource that we can use. And so I know we're live, so I usually ask the people that are watching, one, tell us where you're coming in from, right? So we can see. But also, we have Scott here. So if you have some questions, go ahead and write those in the comment section as well. I have a few more, so don't worry. But if you have some, please feel free to interact with us here. So, Scott, speaking of trends, can you share? I know you said there's 37 that they found helpful, so that means you probably presented way more than the 37. So, can you share two maybe that you can, tell us or share with the audience that you feel like would be, impactful to everyone watching?
Sure, sure. Tough to narrow to two, but
Yes.
I'll do kind of two high level buckets. And the
Okay.
first one, the first one is probably no surprise, and that's AI, artificial intelligence. The second one is demographics. So, with artificial intelligence, I will tell you a lot of companies right now on the design side and the construction side, where firms are using AI, oftentimes it's part of their marketing teams. They're using AI to help develop the content, maybe to do some of the research on the business development side. It could be tied to research. And so, yay for us SMPS members, we're early adopters of technology in our industry. But when I'm sitting with, firm leadership, C-suite, they're all talking about AI right now. And they're talking about it somewhat curiously and somewhat fearful, because they don't know what AI holds. They don't know how it's going to impact the industry. But when you look at some of the metrics, there was a study that was done a little more than a year ago that found that architecture and engineering would be the third most disrupted industry by AI.
Wow.
Construction was down a lot further, but construction benefits heavily from automation
Right.
more so than the machine learning side. And when you have Software providers like Bentley, their AI engine that they've been building, they're anticipating it's going to account for up to 50% of design is
Wow.
going to be done using artificial intelligence. So you can look at it two ways. You could say, well, number one, we could double our revenues with our current staff by leveraging AI, which means profits go up and up and up. Or you could say, geez, just to keep our current level, we'd probably reduce staff by half. Now, those are extreme examples, but this is what our C suites are thinking right now.
Mhm.
And so I think it's really important that we pay attention to what's happening beyond just what's impacting us in marketing and business development. And then demographics. And I spent a lot of time with that client I mentioned this morning doing the trends workshop talking about the demographics because I always feel like, I'm the bearer of bad news or the grim reaper or, when I share some of these trends, but we are in the midst of this massive, massive long-term birth rate decline in the United States. And it started in 1960. And so the metric that has been tracked over the years is births per adult woman in the United States. In 1960, it was 3.7, and as of a couple years ago, where the data stops right now, it was down to about 1.6, 1.5, right around there. So that's half the birth rate, half
Um,
the children being born. And when you kind of trend that out, well, take 60 and add 65 years. Say somebody retires at age 65, that's 2025. So right now we are in peak 65 is what it's called.
mhm.
11,000 baby boomers turn 65 every single day in the United States, and that will hold true for the next couple of years. Doesn't mean they're retiring, but it does portend a mass exodus of talent from the workforce. And now compare that with, if you were to chart out the decline in the birth rate, it's sort of steadied or leveled out late 90s, early 2000s. And then we had the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. It started declining again. And it just so happens that those who were born during the Great Recession are becoming college age next year. So you're seeing this cliff of enrollment. Right now in the United States, the statistic is one college or university per week is going out of business because it's just a massive reduction in or high school graduates going into college, and you see that in the engineering schools. Engineering enrollment is down from 2018 to last year is down 9%. So there's less talent coming in, there's talent leaving, and you layer on top of all of that, because of the Great Recession, the people who were in college around that time that were looking to get degrees in engineering, architecture, construction, because the industry was so depressed for multiple years on the construction, design and construction side, a lot of people left the industry.
Mm.
As the firm I was with earlier today said, the people we would have hired, they became game designers during the Great Recession, right? They
Right,
pivoted. And
right.
so now these are the people that are the emerging leaders in the firms, moving into senior leadership roles, potentially buying into firms, and there's not enough of them. And so that's why we're seeing such disruption right now. We're seeing these emerging leaders are burnout. We're seeing the need to expedite the professional development of younger staff members to get them performing at a higher level. We are seeing companies aren't able to sell from within because there aren't enough people to buy. And oh, by the way, those people who are in those emerging leader roles, they graduated with massive college debt. Um, they haven't bought their house yet, or they're just buying their first house because it's so expensive. They waited till later in life to get married. They waited till later in life to potentially have children, and so they're not interested in buying. So demographics, I mean, that's the exposed iceberg. There's a lot underneath the
Right,
ocean here, but
sure.
that's incredibly disruptive, and that's going to impact every marketer and business developer. If you don't have the people, can you market? If you don't have the people, can you pursue that proposal? Can you do business development if you don't have the people? And you get the people, but are they the right people? Do they have the right skill set, resume? Can they help deliver that project? And so it's really disruptive right now. And you had mentioned the AEC BD research.
Mhm.
One of the things that came out of that research was looking at how firms are doing business development right now. Was that the middle, those emerging leaders, are so busy right now with project commitments because there aren't enough people at their level. They're supposed to be evolving into seller doers, and they don't have time because
Mhm.
they're kind of the stopgap for the lack of talent at that level.
I I am taking this in, and it is, I mean, and the fact, everyone, this is only 2 of the mega trends, by the way. And you'll be talking about this at the Pinnacle Experience as well? Is that what you'll
Uh,
be
Yeah,
discussing?
absolutely. We're going
Right.
to be talking about it in the upcoming CPSM webinar. We're going to talk about it at the Pinnacle Experience, looking at it through the lens of what are the priorities of CEOs.
Mm,
And we have some primary research that I was involved with at Stanball-Ness. We have other research that's secondary that we look at related to this industry and outside of this industry, because if we're going to be valuable to our companies in our roles as marketers and business developers, we really need to understand what the CEOs care about, and then potentially help position the firm for success.
right. So I had this question about talking about what's going to be in this webinar, and I think that the mega trends really handled that. I have a question for you too, because I feel like sometimes marketers, especially those early in their role, they may like, oh, this isn't a conversation for me. Who do you think is most impacted or should be in attendance at talking about these mega trends?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I'll say, if not you, who?
Right.
Um, so what I have seen is just I'll call it, putting your head in the sand.
Hmm.
Um, I'll share an example with you. A company that I worked with on strategic planning earlier this year, great firm, successful firm, was talking about how advanced they are in technology and how they master Revit. And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, if somebody says they're the best at something, right? You got to question that." And I'm like, "Well, how are you using the generative design features? They've been in Revit since 2020." And they're like, "What? We don't use those features." And then it so happened it was a 2-day strategic plan. That evening on LinkedIn, somebody shared an AI-based conceptual design tool that's a series of sliders that the design happens instantaneously, and it's doing quantity takeoff, so you're getting construction estimates. And I showed that to them the next day, and they were like, "Whoa, this is where technology is already." And it totally changed the thought process and their strategic plan, but they didn't have anybody that was paying attention to that stuff.
Mm.
And again, this is a successful firm that's been around for years. So if not you, who? At every level of an organization, I think, it, and look, I'm a little biased. I was on the SMPS HQ board when the vision of business transformed through marketing leadership came together. But that's
Mhm.
that's always in my head. How can marketers and business developers transform their companies? And really, if you're paying attention to the trends and you're reporting that information back, I think that is absolutely huge, because most likely your firm does not have somebody that's doing that, and they're not paying attention to a little domino here that could put them out of business down here if they're not paying attention.
Right. Well, I mean, and I'm thinking about just such the value that you can add to your firm by being aware of all of these trends. So there's a comment here popping in from SMPS Philadelphia. Hi, Stephen. Fascinating discussion. Oh, great. Look at this.
Nice.
Fascinating discussion that I keep in mind all the time, mostly about feeding our marketing talent pipeline, as most of us just find ourselves working in AEC marketing. I've been pushing firms to go to schools to show, to tell and show the work that we do and how important it is to the built environment. I 100% agree, Stephen. That just seems like what we need to do, keep the pipeline going. So thank you so much for your comment. Now we're wrapping up here, and I wanted to one again remind everyone there's a couple of different things that are coming up. One, Pinnacle Experience that will be in November 6th to the 8th. You will be able to see Scott there. Also, November 20th, the CPSM only discussion will be, or the webinar series will start. You will also be able to talk to Scott there. So make sure you sign up for both of those. So before we go, I wanted to get some words of wisdom from you, Scott. You've been an SMPS member, longtime member, fellow. What words of wisdom would you share with those watching today?
Well, I think when you look at uh, where CEOs are focused, largely right now, and this is built environment and beyond, largely right now, it's about growth. Because when you have growth as a company, that creates opportunities for staff to advance. If you have a company that stays the same size and people don't leave, there's no opportunity for advancement. Growth creates the opportunity for people who are able and interested to buy into a company. Growth creates opportunities. Some companies right now, they're looking for buyers, looking to be acquired. Some companies are, another mega trend, private equity, with 100 firms looking to invest in, the built environment right now. Um, Companies looking for potential infusion of cash, they need to demonstrate growth. And who are the growth people in this industry? Isn't it the members of SMPS? And so I think there's real opportunity there to drive growth. And driving growth is as simple, and I know it's easier said than done at the marketing coordinator level, right? I was the marketing coordinator too, saying, you know what? This is probably a no-go decision. We're saying it's a go because somebody met somebody 6 years ago and, at an event, and you think, "Oh, they'll remember me, and let's just pursue this proposal," even though we've done no pre-work. Just trying to put the brake on that and saying, there's an opportunity cost of pursuing something we have no chance of getting. What if we were a little more proactive? Because one of the biggest challenges at my career, all my SMPS friends, we always talk about is we're so reactive. And
Mhm.
when we're reactive, we're chasing down proposals, we're following opportunities, we're doing presentations to get work, which is really, really important. But that's not positioning us for tomorrow or 2 years down the road. And really, in other industries, that's what marketing is. Marketing is understanding the marketplace, building demand, right? So we don't do that in our firms in this industry. But if we could evolve to that, then that's where growth has the real potential to take off. And so if we're focused on growth at every level in our organization, we're adding value to the company. We're aligned most likely with the CEO, one of their top objectives, and it allows us to transform our businesses through marketing leadership.
I you said that so well. Thank you so much, Scott. Proactivity is the way to go. Thank you so much for being here
Of
and
course.
joining on AEC Unplugged.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, look, I think what I took from this conversation is let's be proactive, right? Let's make sure we are ahead of the curve. Let's make sure that we are paying attention to the trends and bringing value to our firms. And I think we do that. Obviously, there's a bias here with through SMPS, but it's important for us to get our learning, to go to the conferences that matter, to watch the online learning, to do all of those things so that we are being proactive rather than reactive. So thank you so much for joining. And as always, I hope that if this doesn't inspire you to do something different, I hope it inspires you to be something different. Thank you for joining AEC Unplugged. See you next time.